Welcome back to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, it is our great honor to be joined by Dr. Shelley James, and she has a special message for the Get a Grip on Lighting audience. It's some great news. It's time we all started thinking differently about this industry, and she's going to tell us more about that in just a moment. But before we get to that conversation, we got to go to etissl.com, Greg. What a broad scope of products this company has.
They do, and I know we've highlighted a lot of times their interior lighting, especially their recessed can line, downlight line, but they have a ton of exterior products too. They have right on their homepage too, dedicated to the Dark Sky Initiative. I know that's very important to you, at least, Michael, and a few others in the industry. It should be more important, but it's getting there. ETI is bringing it. The area lights, floodlights, wall packs, canopies, bulkheads, marine bulkheads, outdoor flash mount, and security lights. Everything you need exterior.
Go to etissl.com. Of course, they're members of the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. If you got light bulbs in a warehouse, that's right, and you sell them, you got a warehouse, you have light bulbs in them, and you sell them. Nailed is your crucial shield. That's right. We're always taking care of the lighting distributors out there. Even if you're an electrical distributor that's heavy in lighting, you should join Nailed. And of course, our friends at Light Fair, Greg. Only losers don't go to Light Fair.
You have to go to Light Fair. It is the industry's trade show. You got to get there.
Get to Light Fair.
Hey,
That's right.
Vegas.
Dr.
Let's go.
James, welcome back to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us the great news. I'm just going to let it out. What's going to happen?
Well, I've been thinking for a while about how I'm lucky enough to have access to some amazing scientific brains and get to talk to them all the time about the latest research, what they're finding, how that is transforming the way that we think about lighting, whether it be discoveries about the non-visual system or actually some really interesting work on how the quality of light changes behavior, performance, focus, even the way we interact with each other online. So I've been lucky enough to speak to some incredible scientists. And then on the other side, I see lighting regulators, specifiers, lighting designers who don't have access to that information and looking for ways to know what they should be doing because most people want to do the right thing. So I was talking to a colleague who's becoming a friend, an amazing professor called Professor Kevin Hauser, who wrote some of the seminal papers on how we should measure light, whether circadian lighting is a myth or a metaphor, what human-centric lighting, what it really means. Is it just health wash, green wash, light wash? And he was saying the same thing, that he knows that there's silos of amazing evidence-less information, and there are silos of people who want to do the right thing but don't really know how and find themselves stuck with marketing speak. So together, we put our heads together and developed a series of podcasts. We think there are between 10 and 12 of them. And together we've found our dream team of scientists to speak to us about those things. And now all of those scientists are saying, yes, yes, yes. So I've had a conversation today with Jamie Zeitzer. I'm meeting with, anyway, they're the most amazing names, and I can't wait to reveal some of those conversations with you. So each one, instead of the scientists kind of hiding behind their webinar and some numbers, we're going to be unpacking current information and why we need to be thinking differently about these things. So it's really, I'm synthesizing all the conversations all the questions I get, and I get to ask them of the scientists, and they get to speak to us in really practical terms about what this means for how we think about lights. So I'm so excited.
Wow.
Yeah, I am too. And it sounds to me like, I know that has a different title, this series, but it's almost like Get a Grip on Circadian Lighting. Like, let's get an understanding of this.
Get a grip. You're so right. I suppose what's interesting is that, yes, circadian is one part of it, but in the series we've got the president of the CIE in Paris, in France, a guy called Christophe Martinson, who is, for my little French accent, and he actually leads the teams which work out which numbers matter. Are we talking about melanopic lux? Should we be talking about alpha-opic lux? Should we be talking about photons per square meter? Should be, which bits matter to the brain? So that's one bit of it. If you're thinking about specifying lights, which number on the sheet counts for you if you're thinking about developing a particular effect? And then we've got an amazing woman speaking about ergonomics. So how come some lighting, about 43, I think between 43 and 53% of neck and back pain is directly linked to the quality of light and distribution of light in a space. So body clock is one thing, but you see, if we knew those things and you were designing lighting for an office or for a hospital, we can create spaces. There's some lovely work by Shadab Rahman actually on medical errors and just a massive shift in the number of near misses and dangerous situations from before this lighting was enhanced and after. So it's so much more than sleep, because very often the circadian piece, it's very important, but it gets parked because you're going, well, you're in an office, you're only during the day, so that doesn't matter. So what we're doing here is looking at all the different ways we need to be thinking differently about lighting, all the different things that we can do to shift that.
That's great. And what do you think will be the end result, or what do you hope will be the end result after this series of podcasts?
Well, with Kevin, we were thinking about it like a little bookshelf. You've probably got a bookshelf. I can see there's one behind you. And you kind of go, I need to know about this. Where can I go to find something that's reliable, that is current, that is well articulated and relevant? And we're hoping that at the end of this, if you are a specifier or a manufacturer thinking about where to put some research efforts or where to put even some marketing and sales efforts, you can go back to that little library and go, now I know what I need to. I know the framework of information now, and actually, these scientists are so incredible. They said, "Yeah, people can get in touch with this." So, the goal is to create like a little bookshelf of really relevant, actionable information, and regulators to have access to that, so that when they come up with a lumens per watt type measure, they're based on what we know now about what really matters.
That's great.
That's incredible. Yeah. It's so needed too, Greg. I mean, there's, the industry had become so narrowly focused on energy savings and lumens per watt and energy savings, and it felt like we had become the nail for the climate change hammer. Every time somebody wanted to accomplish something, go hit up the lighting industry. And I think a lot of, I don't know if ignored was the right word, but maybe a lot of this great research has been overlooked, Dr. James.
Yes, I think it has, partly because it's not a straightforward number. The goal is to set the context. So people want a number like lumens per watt, but if you think just about that particular measure, if you understand more about the contribution of different parts of the way the eye and brain work, and if you also understand the unintended consequences of smashing a load of light through a particular very narrow optic, and you understand the impact of glare, then suddenly you'll start to say lumens per watt is one measure that's important. But actually, if we're looking at quantity and quality, you can start to make more informed choices. So I think it's tempting to go for a single number, but if we can add a little bit of nuance to that number without making it too complicated to even go there, then we'll end up with some more positive and healthy incentives for the industry to drive it forward. So if that answers your question.
Well, it does. It just makes me more interested, and I'm sure Greg's the same way. We want to see what's going to happen here. But I'll tell you this, Greg, Dr. James is a superstar. She's the first podcaster on the network to come out with full corporate support on the first episode of her show. No build up right off the bat. What a great and wonderful relationship we've built with BIOS, and we're all excited. Dr. James, how exciting is it to have a sponsor from day one and it be BIOS at the same time, which is probably the perfect company?
It's wonderful. I think their approach is very much about evidence. They've built relationships with scientists over over a long period of time. People like Robert are so well respected. He's published papers himself. He knows about this stuff. So I think it's a privilege to partner with an organization who put their money where their mouth is. And they're bringing some really interesting innovations designed for the space station. So they know about the kind of the extreme environments and what it takes to really perform in those spaces. So I'm just very grateful that they decided to come on board and help us with this particular project.
Yeah. For sure. And, Greg, we got to thank Janine Mighton and Robert Solar and Michael Kupka and all the good folks down at Solar for supporting Dr. James on this incredible work. Thinking differently about lighting, I believe, is the title, is it not?
It is.
Wow. Well, Greg, I'm going to invite you to go right now to etissl.com. We thank BIOS for sponsoring that Dr. James's upcoming work, which will be a 10 to 12 episode series right here on Get a Grip on Lighting. It'll be on a couple other networks. But this show is sponsored by our good friends at etissl.com, Greg.
They talked about at the beginning the broad line that they have, interior, exterior, everything included, and a little bit of uniqueness to a lot of their products too. And the Dark Sky Initiative. So some of the uniqueness, those little trim rings around the recessed cans we've talked about, that end light. Great product, great company.
And if you have light bulbs in a warehouse, why are you not a member of NAILD? Like, come on, you're either a vendor or a member, one or the other. If you got light bulbs in a warehouse and you sell them, come on, join all the cool kids down at NAILD who are all, Greg, going to be in Vegas at Light Fair this spring.
In May.
Don't be a chump.
25.
Don't be a chump. You got to go to Light Fair. If you're in North America, it better be your brother's wedding or something if you're not coming to Light Fair, because it's in Vegas this year, folks. Check it out. Bye for now.